very happy when the head of FIDA actually said something about the women. She said the women are actually those that actually suffer the most from the lack of access or lack of electricity. And in the case of Africa, that's very much true. Within the course of the presentation, I'll get to explain. So the outline for the presentation, I want to start with a food for thought. After which we'll look at the world today, Nigeria's energy stance, we'll be having facts, we'll be having figures, investments, challenges in Nigeria's power supply, the outcomes so far, the choice of coal as a source of power generation, what is wrong. So I believe Enugu should be very much interested in this, as well as Gombe and Kogi states, since they are the states having coal. We'll also be looking at the renewable energy source as the key to Nigeria's many problems, the benefits. After which I'll say thank you. Okay, first of all, the food for thought. An idle mind and poverty are the products of the absence of power. And we all know that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. When you join an idle mind and poverty together, the results will be catastrophic, as we're already experiencing. High crime rates, you get to sell your votes, loss of integrity, and the rest of them. And when there's no power, the situation is more exaggerated or amplified. In simple terms, we easily define power as the ability to do work. It could also be, in this context, electricity. Because in this generation, without electricity, which we call power, we don't have power, holding company, and the rest of them. Without power, nothing works. So within this context, we call it electricity. So the energy in this case, which is electricity, is like the starting point. It has to be there. When electricity works, other sectors of the economy start to work, and the economy on itself increases, and we have the outputs, increased employment, increased investments, which will lead to increased employment. We'll have increase in outputs and improvement in the standard of living. The start of eradicating an idle mind and poverty is first by ensuring that the availability of sustainable energy supply is there. So it's not just enough to have electricity, it has to be sustainable and steady. Because when there's light, people get to work, companies get to work, manufacturing plants and the rest of them, they get to employ and engage people, which takes them out of their restlessness and idleness. So without sustainable power supply, we cannot end poverty and its cohorts. The spillovers of poverty, from corruption to crime to insurgency and the likes. So that's my food for thought. So the world today. The world today is richer than it has ever been. The world is very, very rich today. But at the same time, the riches of the world is concentrated in the hands of very few. And we're having more poverty, not just poverty, but hunger poverty. The worst of its kind, where people cannot even afford to eat. So we're having rising global conflicts, war and terrorism. The other day it was in France. We're having series of wars and conflicts. We're having Ukraine and Russia, and it's just increasing all over. Boko Haram has increased their activities, gone down to Cameroon and the rest of them, and for them to be increasing, the activities to be increasing, you need to know that the enrollments or their foot soldiers are increasing to a good extent, and their idleness or engaging youth who have nothing to do would also play a big role. Then we're also having climate change and its adverse effects today in the world. We're having lots of natural disaster, rising water levels. We're having them all over the news today. Lagos, the land is actually reducing by the seconds because of the rising baggage. We're having floods, we're having desertification from the north and the southern parts, which is actually instigating the program, the Big Green Wall. Then food shortages and rising unpredictable temperatures and weather. Within the midst of food shortages, actually ironic to know that Nigeria and the world is also experiencing lots of food wastages, and these wastages are also as a result of poor storage and processing, which also depends on the processing plants, which now depend on the availability of electricity to help them increase their productivity. So it still boils down to electricity. So we're having massive energy shifts from the traditional fossil fuel to clean renewable energy in the world today. And here we have a picture of the international oil price, which is one of the things that's happening in the world today, drop in oil prices. And here I just try to depict the different factors that have actually led to oil prices. I got this from the budget office. And here, we see the decline and it's going down, and people are very, very, very optimistic. But I'm actually on the pessimistic side because I don't think the oil price will be rising very soon because of a series of issues which I listed there. So aside the increase in shale oil production by USA and other neighbors around US, if you add the shale oil volumes to the total reserves in oil they will have more than even Saudi Arabia's oil. So which means that the total costs down. Then other factors, we also have rising discussions to tackle the global warming. We have the Lima conference, we have a series of conferences in Peru, and they are signing green deals and treaties right now. So actually cuts down carbon emissions, which is actually causing the global warming. And USA, Germany, Australia, Canada, China are actually topping this drive. These are the major industrial countries, and even if there's a shift in world power, it's likely going to fall within these same countries. And we also know that in world politics, once they are signing a deal and your country decides to sit back, it reflects in the volume of aid and support you tend to get. Then we're having a series of discussions around carbon tax and carbon penalties, signing deals and main treaties, as you've already said. Then there's a series of commercial breakthroughs. We're having, it's no longer experimentation, but now commercial breakthroughs in renewable energy technology. We're having innovations of solar street lights, we're having solar cars. We have that in Japan, we have in Brazil, we have in China, we have in Germany. In fact, my uncle has a solar bike that he rides. I was brought from a brother. We're even having electronic cars. There's an American company, Charles Motors. Last year they produced 4,000 electric cars. All you do is plug. You plug your phone. When you charge, you take it and go. So what they do is, instead of having filling stations, they'll be having charging points for your phone, for your cars. You pull out your wire plug, and 5 minutes you're ready to go. So we're having electronic cars, and this company actually said that with subsequent years coming, they'll be increasing their production to up to 1 million cars in a year. So we also have, even now, they have a solar plane. It came out in Punch newspaper and Guardian newspaper a few days ago. The solar plane that we fly, not running on the floor. So if these trends of innovation actually continue, what it simply means is that when you pour your garri in your plate, you pour crude oil and eat. Then Nigeria's energy stance, facts and figures. In terms of energy, I like to place my first energy source to human. Human beings are the best energy any economy can have, man. So let us look at our figures as regards to human being, man. Here. The rate of unemployment, figures actually shows that Nigeria's unemployment rate as of 2011 was 23.9%. It's interesting because in times of election, you start having a series of figures that start jumping out for campaign, and that's why you always have to go back and verify. And while you verify, you have to pray that the source is not infiltrated by the government, because then figures may start changing. So as at 2011, we're having unemployment rate at 23.9%. In 2013, it increased to 38%. And when that report was coming out, they said it would likely increase to 2% by 2014. The chunk of this is in the rural area. Then in April 2014, the Minister of Finance, in one of her comments to the press, actually said that 3.5 million youths, Nigerian youths, are unemployed. 1.8 million graduates enter the labor market every year. Now, this figure is actually believed to be a conservative estimate because Nigerian Bureau of Statistics actually put the number of jobless Nigerian youths to 20.3 million. By the time they look at the spillovers and those that actually finish from both the youth camp and the part-time and the rest of them. So Nigeria, from the World Bank report in 2014, this was actually this year. It was reporting the report from last year. Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa are actually growing by 4.5%. This is actually lower than the projections that the Ministry of Finance has actually been given. And the report actually says that poverty remains and is growing extremely high. Still on facts and figures, on electricity generation, Nigeria actually depends on two major sources, the thermal and the hydro. Most of our power supply actually comes from gas, which is the thermal, 70 to 80%, while hydro contributes to 20 to 30%. In terms of access to electricity, 40 to 51% of Nigerians have access to electricity. As I yesterday, when I checked the World Bank, it was 48%. So it's still within this range. Then only 18% of the rural communities have access to electricity. So our current installed generating capacity 7,500 megawatts. As at 9th January, which is just a few days back, I had to check because we're having a few discussions on how the administration have been going, and on the media, one of the PDP persons said that Nigeria is actually generating over 8,000. I had to go back and check, and that's why I extracted this. So our peak generation is 4,030 megawatts. The energy generation, 3,600. Then what is sent out, which is transmitted as at now, is 3,575 megawatts. The highest peak generation so far, still in 2012, 4,517.6. You can check the facts yourself, and that's why I have the source there. So the government actually intends to generate 10,000 megawatts by 2016, which is just 5 years from now. Then by 2017, they hope that this figure gets to 12,500 megawatts. What is the hope? Nigeria hopes to be one of the top 20 economies by 2020. This is 5 years from now. Okay, this is 10,000 megawatts, which is just next year. Then 20 years. In 5 years' time, we hope to be one of the biggest. By next year, we hope to get 10,000 megawatts, which is increasing over 7,000 for what we are transmitting. So the federal government has a target of meeting 40,000 megawatts by the year 2020, one of the top economies in the world. Still on facts and figures, either facts and truths. Currently, the national grid, which is what most of Nigerians are actually connected to, has a carriage capacity of 5,500 megawatts. If we go back, we're hoping to increase our transmission to 10,000 megawatts. But the wires around the streets has a capacity of 5,000. Nigeria needs at most 200,000 megawatts by 2030. This is according to the Energy Commission of Nigeria. So the big question is, how do we fix 20,000 megawatts, which is in 5 years, into a carriage, a national grid capacity of 5,500 megawatts, which is like the way you use your normal electricity. If this is carrying 2.5 volts, if you have to, how do you put 5.5? Does it mean you have to rewire the whole country? And remember that we still have those that are off the national grid. We still have communities and people that are not even on the national grid. So these are issues. This is a very big issue of discussion, which no political party or nobody has been able to tackle. So where would this electricity come from? If we're going to get 200,000 megawatts of electricity by 2030, we're going to get there by 2030. Where is this electricity going to come from? Aside the gas and terminals. Is it going to come from coal, firewood, generator, abina, kerosene? So investments and challenges in Nigeria's power supply. Nigeria's crude oil production dropped by 17,300 barrels per day from 1.9 million barrels per day. This was as recorded in November. So to 1.9. Okay, it's the position there. So about 35 billions of Nigerian crude oil remain unsold. This is one record we've never gotten before. Most of the time we exhaust all we have, but we're having 35 billion barrels unsold. This is in December. And why is that so? Because even after America left, we are now depending on Asia. But now even the Asia have turned to Angola for supplies. So the burning light, which we've always boasted of, that is very light, is very lead, it has little sulfur and the rest of them, other people have gotten it. So we've lost that monopoly in terms of that. So we are now beginning to have extras, and we don't have, our refineries are working below 16%. So the federal government exported 140.9 million barrels or 1.35 million barrels of crude during the third quarter of 2014. It actually declined by 1.6 million barrels. So what is simply happening is the strengths or the challenges or the way we boast about crude oil, we can no longer do that again. We can no longer do that again. What we're having now are not numbers, but the main facts. The way we boast of crude oil, that importance is actually losing its grip. So Nigeria is the second nation after Russia in gas flaring. This is the figures. We have a gas reserve. We're the seventh largest country with the largest gas reserve in Nigeria. We're the largest in Africa with an estimated 187 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserve. And unproven gas reserve may be estimated to be about 600 trillion cubic feet. We flare 40% of our gases. Yes, we do. And in the process of flaring, not only do we lose revenue, $2.5 billion should have been in if we've been selling out or using our gas. but will actually lose this revenue and also contribute to the environmental degradation, contributing to carbon flaring and the rest of them. They emit the CO2, destroy the climate, and add to the global warming. So still on that, the optimal harnessing of Nigeria's electricity has been an active challenge over the years. Now, they're giving a series of problems. The Minister of Finance have actually given us a series of factors why we're having these challenges in the power supply. We talked of backlight vandalization, rupturing gas pipelines, the lack of funds, insufficient meters, gas pricing, and increase in tariff. In terms of funding, the power sector is highly capital intensive, as when they did the privatization, most of the companies were actually financed by Nigerian banks. At least 70% of the money that went into the privatization were actually your money which you kept in the bank. And equities also got about 404 billion were paid to get power assets. Now, when they were actually going for privatization, the Bureau of Public Enterprise, because the major problem is to the capital equipment, replacing transformers, the cables, and the rest of them. All the disco companies were required to actually invest 3.57. Actually, the total figure is 4.28 billion. But just for 2013 alone, they were supposed to pay this amount of money, $357.7 million. Each of the companies were supposed to inject that fund into capital facilities. They are supposed to provide transformers, repair new cables. Those are your staff that you need to send on training. Do that. If you need to increase your capacity, the transmission, everything, they are supposed to drop that money by 2013. So right here is how this sum is actually distributed. So Abuja Distribution Company was expected to invest $3.6 million in replacement of facilities. The same with Benin, it's 24.3, Enugu 27.2, Ibadan 43.8. So this is where your district is supposed to actually invest as at 2013 in the provision of transmission facilities as required from the Bureau of Public Enterprise. So here I also looked at what's the amount of money that the federal government through its annual budget has been providing for the Ministry of Finance to the sector. And from 2009 down to 2014, 561.9 billion has actually gone into the Ministry of Finance. Of that total sum, 95.8% or 538.2 billion is supposed to go into capital infrastructure provision, maintenance and replacement. Then of the recurrent, which is to pay the salaries of personnel, the metering, the printout and the other overhead costs, we actually allocated 23.7 billion, which is just 4%. So for the ministry, you'll notice that the largest chunk of it actually goes to provide those infrastructure and facilities. So the question we now start to ask is, if between 2009 down to 2014, 95% of the total amount of money has been going to provide transformers, has been going to provision of extending the national grid and the rest of them, how come we're still in this position? So after we looked at the amount of money that goes into the budget, I went down to look at the utilization of the amount. We say, okay, this is the money that's going to go to them. How much have they succeeded in using? So that's what this second table actually shows. This is the figures in the budget. This is what has been used. So from what has been used, we see that the percentage for all the ministries, this is the total, 83% has been utilized. Sorry, 50% has been utilized. So what it simply means is, this is for the capital sum. What it simply means is, this sum divided by 2. That is the only thing the ministry has succeeded in using. So the other sum goes back to the government. So according to an investigation by Swiss Crude in 2013, the power holding companies have collected 1 trillion annually from households. So every year, what PHCN actually gets from household on the average is 1.1 trillion. They get 2 trillion from small and micro businesses. They get 2.8 billion from the federal airports. They get 3.4 billion from banks and other large-scale enterprises. So according to the same investigation by Swiss Crude in 2013, the federal government through the power holding companies has actually robbed Nigerians of as much as 3.4 trillion. That is 19.6 billion annually through outrageous electricity bill which is not commensurate with the amount of power supply we get. And that's why electricity becomes a right. And like the chairman of the Nigerian Power Association has said, they have a charter there, they have a committee there that will take care of the public's complaints. They bring you estimated bills that are not proper, that are not commensurate to what you supply. Go to them. I think the major issue also is that we don't even complain. We are suffering and smiling, as Fela has said it. You know? So we don't even complain. We don't go out and say this person is robbing me and everything. And that's why they've actually enjoyed so much wealth. So 3.4 trillion have actually gone into that. And if I need to remind you, the 2015 budget is about 4 trillion. So that's just a difference of 1 trillion. This is just in a year. So there's also a metering gap, as the Nigerian Power Association has also said. Then this is their a repetition of that. And households pay an average of 3,000 monthly for electricity bill where there's power, and that's not for just the month. Okay, so this is just the money PHCN has actually gotten from Nigeria so far, and yet they complain that they don't, they are underfunded. So the 2015 budget. So what is the outcome of all of this so far? The outcome of this is that you have to depend more on generator. You have to use more kerosene. You have to use more firewood. Now, if you have to depend on more firewood, it means you have to go down to the forest and cut down more trees. And cutting down more trees is also adding to the climate change we're talking about, because the trees are supposed to purify the air. The carbon that are out there that are not so good for human health is what the trees are supposed to take in. But because you have to cook, you cut down the trees since there's no light, and you end up sniffing more carbon than it's necessary for you. And so in the 2015 budget, since there's no light, the Office of the Presidency, the Office of the Secretary General of the Federation, and parastatals under the Presidency, they've actually appropriated for themselves 815 million. This is for fueling and generator. So according to the Nigerian Electricity Commission, Nigerians, we spend 796.4 billion to fuel our generators every year. The Center for Management Development revealed that an estimate of 60 million Nigerians, which includes you, invest about 1.6 trillion in the purchase of standby generators annually. Now, not only do these generators cost a fortune to install, fuel and maintain, they are very, very cost to maintain. The cost of generator proliferation has an exceptionally high level of CO2 emissions, the smoke will come off for the generator, that has lots of fumes, which contains lethal toxics of poisonous and environmentally unfriendly gases, including carbon monoxide and other toxics, which cause series of health effects, such as lung cancer, chronic obstacles, and low birth weight, and the rest of them, tuberculosis. So more people depend on firewood and fuel. Remember, when we went back to the map, we have over 51 to 60% of Nigerians that don't have access to electricity, which simply means that this population, they don't have access to electric stove. And if they don't have access to electricity, it's either they have to wire their house and use a small gen, or they just use candle and kerosene. So more people depend on firewood and kerosene stove. Now, according to the World Health estimation, breathing kerosene smoke is equivalent to smoking 2 packs of cigarettes every day. Now, 2/3 of adult females in sub-Saharan Africa have lung cancer. These women are not smokers. These women are cooking mothers. So when she actually said that women suffer the most as a result of the lack of access to electricity, she's very, very much right. Most of the time, like my landlord, he said the mother-in-law has cancer, and I was asking if it was in the family, and he said no. And my quickest thought was, maybe she cooks with firewood. So lots of these things, we may say, they don't jazz and they don't this. Check the person's lifestyle. We just find out that the person was just suffering from what they've been using. So women, to talk of smoke, using kerosene, breathing kerosene smoke, like when you off your kerosene stove, the smoke that comes up, when you breathe it in, it's like you just smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. So you're equivalent to a smoker. So according to the light is actually a renewable energy company. They say that indoor pollution from kerosene kills 1.5 million people a year. It's a silent killer. So we'll ask ourselves, so what do we do? Now the government has made a provision that Nigerians should switch to coal. And Enugu, you guys are on the spotlight. Kogi and Gombe, they're also on the spotlight. So the question is, what is wrong with coal? Some 5 days ago, the federal government spread out guideline. It said it's a guideline for coal power plants in Nigeria, and I had to sit down and read through because I was looking for a health section of it. What are the health clauses that they should take into consideration? And I found none. So I also went to the international community beyond with my internet to read and see what technologies are there to keep people safe if they have to use coal. And I'm yet to find one. Yes, they said there's one called coal trapping, carbon trapping when you use coal and clean coal. How effective, I don't know. But let's just do one. So the choice of coal. What's the choice of coal as a source of power generation? What is wrong with it? The first picture I got was this. This is a picture of China. If you follow your CNN or your Al Jazeera, you follow stories of China, or you just click your internet, your Google, coal in China, people's experience, you'll see situations where people are on the daylight, maybe 3, 4. You can't even see what's in front of you because of the fumes and the carbon smoke. So from the figures, what I got on the net, coal contributes 72% of global CO2 emission. The CO2 emission is equivalent to what comes out of your generator, but it's thicker in terms of coal. So coal contributes 72% of global CO2 emission from power generation. There are various uses. You can use to cook and the rest of them. So that one is like stay alone and die alone. But in terms of generation, you're pushing it out to the environment. So major sources of is a major source of social unrest in China. And for those that actually advocate that will go into coal, use coal, I recommend this book, Coal Assault on Human Health. It's free, it's on the internet. Get a copy and read more. I'm actually planning to send some to the Ministry of Power and Health. So a little sentence, I said that in the quest of searching for sustainable power supply, which we said without sustainable power supply, you cannot counteract poverty, you cannot counteract idle mind, you must get constant power supply. But if you have to get constant power supply, you don't have to erode your search for power supply at the detriment of human and environmental health. If not, you use coal, you generate light, and who uses the light if people are sick and dying? So we have to consider the human health and the environment when we want to make the choice of how we use the choice of energy. So here we'll have a coal pile, and there we'll have a picture of a power plant using coal. So that's how the fume goes out to the environment. So by the time, by God's grace, we start building coal power plants all over Enugu, this is what you'll be seeing everywhere. And you start wearing gas masks. So you told the federal government before they give you, they should bring gas masks. So let's go on. So Nigeria's coal reserve is 300. We have 360 metric tons of coal, and it's predicted that by the time we use this volume of coal reserve, we can generate up to 30% of the electricity Nigeria needs for 20 to 30 years, which is fantastic. But at what cost? As of August 2014, Dangote actually said that he wants to invest 250 million, which is equivalent to 40 billion naira if you use 160. He wants to invest that sum in coal fire plants, and he's going to import his coal from South Africa. It's interesting to know that even South Africa and Alaska, which are the two countries I did a study on that have coal depot. Those countries are making quick efforts to send out all their coal and switch to renewables. So what it simply means is that take my problem, buy it, and pay me money. So this country, so Dangote is actually planning to import coal from South Africa, even when Nigeria has, to generate up to 30,000 megawatts of its plants. And in the paper, in the records, we read that he has actually placed an order to import 30,000 metric tons. If it has come in, we don't know yet. So according to the World Economic Resource Survey 2013, the current share of coal in the global energy generation is over 14%. This is expected to decrease as the year is coming. Remember, I actually said that there's been serious breakthrough in renewable energy. So people are actually shifting from this dirty form. Now, China alone uses as much coal as the rest of the world, and invariably embraces all the associated costs that emanates from the use of coal. So I still replicated that picture. Now, what is cost? How do we estimate cost? Costs have many, in so many instances, many people have, if you want to say cost, like an accountant, cost is what is just there. But as an economist, my own cost does not limit to the figure, 100 naira, 20 naira. We also look at what is the opportunity for gone, what is the social cost, what is the health cost. So when you want to estimate cost, you also have to put all these things into consideration. So it's not just enough to just limit cost to how much you spend in buying the machine, how much are we going to use to operate it, how much are we going to pay people as salaries. You also have to look at what is the impact? What is the impact in terms of health? What is the impact in the long run? If you say, okay, no, it doesn't matter, we can have life for 20 to 30 years, let us use coal. Is it not if we fall sick, we get well? Our forefathers and our parents could as well take nuclear and start using nuclear weapon or nuclear gases and say, okay, it's beneficial to them, let them generate light so that they won't have a generation. So you don't have to be selfish to your own age. You have to extend and think of your generation, 20 to 30 years to come. So I still have other small shots. We say today coal is the dirty and most outdated energy source. It is outdated. It's embarrassing for a country to be saying we want to use coal plants. It's like when you go to Lagos and the government is saying we have provided trade. If you see some of the trade here, you'll be embarrassed that at this age they still use this kind of thing. It's just like a young man, you see your fellow boy wear one big packages in 1990. It's embarrassing. So the same thing also applies in terms of the choice. You can't carry this old. If you look at the computer they used in 1990s, it's not the same as what you have now. Now we have speed train, we have speed jets, we have all those things. So you can't be taking us back. So coal is the most dirtiest and outdated energy source. If you're very, very observant, if you can flash back 3-4 years, you notice that the trees are slowly disappearing. If you go to Lagos, you have different trees. In fact, I don't like staying in Lagos because I feel like I breathe in sickness because there's no tree, the air is not clean. So these are things you have to be sensitive about. So coal is one of the dirtiest. So according to the book I said you have to get a copy about, each terawatt of electricity generated from coal actually is equivalent to 24.5 jets are expected. So for each time you provide this number of jets, 24.5 deaths, and you provide 225 serious illnesses and 13,288 minor deaths. This is from that report. Coal is the least efficient fossil fuel, one compared to the energy gain and the carbon it misses. So this is part of the calculations we're talking about. It's going to give you light, but it's going to give you more toxic and more carbon to kill yourself, which adds to the greenhouse and global warming. At every stage, from mining, transportation, storage, combustion, and disposal of coal waste, it is very, very harmful to human and environmental health. At every stage. So there's no point where you say it is safe. Even the man that they put it in a store and they're supposed to take it to the dump site, it is dangerous. So electricity generation using coal burning produces approximately twice the greenhouse gas per kilowatt compared to the generation using natural gas. Alaska, like I said, is one of the largest, it's actually the largest state in America that has a lot of coal in abundance, but they are not using it to generate any electricity. They have it, but they don't use it to generate electricity. So instead, they actually sell it out for those that are willing to die. And the same thing is also applying to South Africa. So when Dangote wants to import, and you say, go ahead, you are buying off their problem, why don't you give it to them so that they can also die? So burning coal releases numerous toxins that are harmful to the body. Particle pollution from coal power plants. That's when the power plants come to Enugu and they start blowing out all those things. They will kill approximately 13,000 people in Enugu and neighboring states. So get ready. I think those people that sell caskets, their market will boom. Coal fire plants that sell electricity to the national grid are more hazardous in USA than any other polluting plants. Now, over 386,000 tons of air pollutants are emitted from over 400 coal plants in USA. That's why they have lots of asthma. According to records of the Union of Concerned Scientists in the United States of America, in an average typical coal plant that generates 5,000 megawatts of electricity, these coal plants will actually generate the following amount of pollutants: 3.7 million tons of carbon dioxide. Now, this amount is equivalent to chopping down 161 million trees. Now, this toxins, carbon dioxide, is the principal cause of the global warming and climate change we're having today. 10,000 tons of sulfur dioxide, which is still from that same plant, causes acid rain and forms small airborne particles that causes lung cancer, heart disease, and illnesses. 10,200 tons of nitrogen oxide, equivalent to 500,000 latest model cars that don't even use much fuel. This toxins actually leads to the formation of smokes, which inflame lungs tissues and increases susceptibility to respiratory illnesses like this asthma, where they use inhaler. Because lots of nitrogen oxide causes that. Then the same also has 5,000 tons of small airborne particles, which can cause bronchiolitis and a reduction of lung function. So the list goes on and on. 200 tons of hydrocarbon contributes to fog, 702 tons of carbon monoxide, which causes headache and other stress with the heart disease, 107 pounds of mercury. A teaspoon of mercury, very small teaspoon, when you pour it in water, that it causes disabilities and damages the neuron, the nerves in the brain. 225 pounds of arsenic, which leads to cancer in 1 out of 100 people who drink water containing that particle. So that's one of it also. Then 114 pounds of lead, cadmium, and heavy metals, which also causes mental issues and damages the nervous system. We also have coal ash. Coal ash is what is actually left after you burn the coal. What is left and what it disposes. It contains three different materials also. Chromium, which causes stomach ulcer, anemia, and lung cancer. Selenium, which in excess can impair the vision and paralysis. Boron, which can lead to eye, nose, and throat irritation. A large amount of this can damage the intestine, the liver, the kidney, the brain, and testes. All of this eventually leads to death. So if the quest is to go for coal, if we must go for coal, I think it's very, very important that we know the diseases that are associated with them. So that when they give you coal, they should give you the type of hospital that can take care of all of this. So this is it is a serious issue because it's going to come here. They have given them the rights, they have started. So these are the kind of hospitals you should ask for. And I don't need to tell you the standard of Nigerian hospital or the kind of treatment. So renewable energy source. So you have to speak out and vote right. You have to speak out and vote right. So basically, what we've actually seen in all of this is a cobweb of issue. We've seen the issue of unemployment. We've seen the issue of the environmental degradation. We've seen the issue of using coal. Now we're saying that what solution can we then prefer? Renewable energy, a source as Nigeria's many problems. Nigeria should consider engaging in renewable energy sources. Nigeria in this sense should not just depend on the federal government. Too much weight has actually been on the federal government. I don't see any reason why a local government cannot generate electricity for its community. So all government concerns and citizens should be open-minded. We have to be open-minded. We don't have to keep on going through the traditional circle. Open-minded, innovative, emulate and import experiences of other clean renewable energy countries. When we privatize our discos, our NEPA, to be honest, I was thinking I would be seeing big giants from Germany, USA, but I was still hearing the political names and figures, and like Mommy actually said, when there's corruption, privatization cannot work, and the NEPA and the NBA man, when there's corruption, privatization cannot work. Nothing works when there's corruption. So it's actually a big issue. So Nigeria should emulate and import, not try to bring up people that have ideas. No, let's bring them in to do these things. China, in an effort to hold down its coal, is now shifting towards renewable, and it's the biggest user of wind so far now. As at 2013, according to the global wind statistics in 2013, China, using just wind energy alone, generates 91,434 megawatts, which is far more than what it is. In fact, it is more than what you hope to get to make Nigeria one of the largest economies in Africa. So in 2013, they are providing that already. With wind, US has been able to provide 61,000 megawatts. Germany, using wind, has been able to provide 34,250 megawatts. Spain, 22,959. India, 20. United Kingdom. So these countries are using wind. These same countries, again, they are using solar. Germany, so far, is the highest in terms of solar usage, and they generate 139,000 megawatts. Germany alone. China, with solar, they generate 18. Italy, 17. Japan, 13. US, 11. Spain, 5. France, 4. UK, 3. Australia, 3. India, 2. These are in thousands. So you see that these same countries, they use wind, they use solar, and they still use hydro because they have water. They use hydro and other sources. Now the IEA EVP report shows that Germany, like I already said, has a total with 35, and the rest of them is in the position of the one we have at home. So the renewable energy have become affordable because before we used to say it's too expensive to get, it's too expensive to get. By the time you compare getting a solar and getting a generator, at the first instance, to purchase a solar panel may cost you more than getting the generator. But once you get the solar panel, get your inverter, get your battery at that first shop, you realize that you don't need service charge, you don't need anything like that. But with the gen, you take carbon, fuel every day, engine oil tomorrow. Okoro we go service the gen, go chop your own, and you get sick along the way. So if you compare the cost, you realize that you're spending more even with your traditional gen. So the price of these equipments are even falling now because China is doing it, Germany is doing it. Before it used to be just Germany, but now we're having Brazil doing it, China is doing it, Japan is doing it, and they're having lots of energy efficient technologies that are actually making the price of this solar actually drop. So it has fallen by 80%, and I think it's as far back from 1990 something. I'll still go back there. So if Nigeria transits, I heard this, the morning my boss actually told us, why don't you do research on this? That morning I was going to work, I came late that day. I just tuned on channels and I saw a report, and I quickly on my phone to record it. It's still on my phone, and I got this man's name. This is UNIDO, not UN. Now, he said, his name is Nathaniel, something like that. He said, if Nigeria transits to off-grid renewable energy, we stand to gain 1, a savings of $1.4 billion every year. It gets rid of 2.3 billion liters of kerosene, 1.3 billion candles, 304 million batteries. Now, he said that this getting rid of these batteries, we don't even count the spillovers. You see, the Oyibo difference from us. He's thinking of when he disposed the battery, what of the environmental effects? So he said not even accounting the environmental effect and the spills of the batteries when disposed in waters, giving the leaks and toxics. Now he said that when we transit to renewable energy and we invest some money, we will get a payback period of 14 months. When we invest in that, to take away 17 million barrels of crude oil, which we will be depending on, it will save the economy 6.4 million tons of carbon dioxide that you would have been burning out to the environment, also saving the economy, which is equivalent to, because 6.4 million tons of carbon dioxide is equivalent to taking away 1.6 million buses off the road, and an annual saving per household of $66 a year. If you switch to renewable energy, convert 66 billion times 160, that is what you would have been saving every year. Renewable energy creates more jobs than fossil fuels actually do. The oil industry in Nigeria today creates 50,000 jobs. In Germany, 400,000 jobs is created by renewable energy alone. 400,000, 50,000. Do the gap. So Nigeria can create more jobs. We're having similar unemployment problem. If we switch to renewables, we will have created more jobs. Those that will be doing installations, the accountants that will be working there, those that will be producing the materials and assembling, even here in Nigeria, we would have succeeded in creating more jobs, creating power supply for the Nigerian people, and creating a healthy environment. So it's like killing 3 birds with 1 stone, not even 2 birds with 1 stone. So here I have a little picture here. This is a global statistic, 3.5 million workers in renewable energy alone. This is an increase. Then we're having the different sources of renewable energy. 22% of global electricity in 2013. It's increasing. We're having wind. This is the megabyte is being produced by the counts, and this is the figures, how it goes. In 2013, it's just taking 22%. They hope that by 2030, it will increase to 45%. Then by 2050, the whole world will have been green, the clean, healthy environment. So let's hope that Nigeria contributes our quota. But when we flare so much gas, Nigeria so far today is the highest, we flare the most gas after Russia, which is not good. So to keep the CO2 emissions, we have to reduce our usage and dependence on fossil fuel and switch to renewables. So this is the cost of solar, dropping down from 2008 down to 2013. So that's what a solar panel look like. There have been arguments that solar panels can take lots of space, but we have lots of space and we do nothing with them. So here are just